Hi there. This is an update on the fight over SB2 here in Texas. I'm Emily Fort, Executive Director of the Homeschool Freedom Coalition. We're a national organization designed to help homeschoolers become more effective in state capitals all across the country. We are headquartered here in Texas, where I've lived with my family, a sixth-generation Texan husband, for the last 11 years. So we're pretty committed to Texas. And I was homeschooled my whole life from kindergarten through 12th grade. I went on to a private Christian college, got a degree in Christian education, went on to work for 10 years at one of the largest homeschool companies in the world. So needless to say, homeschooling is pretty near and dear to my heart, as is Texas. So when SB2 and HB3 were filed here in Texas, like many thousands of homeschoolers we've heard from, we were immediately alarmed. But, and here's the but Texas has the Texas Homeschool Coalition, this powerhouse of an organization, which last time I checked their 990 tax returns was bringing in about $1 million a year. So that's a powerhouse. When it comes to legislative politics, if you're $1 million a year nonprofit, you're going to be pretty capable of advocating for your donors in the Capitol, right? Like, you're going to have some say over the legislation that comes forward that impacts your group of people. You would think so, but homeschoolers have been, over several years, keep in mind I've been here, over 10 years now, homeschoolers have been repeatedly surprised in a bad way about what the Texas Homeschool Coalition thinks about or is doing to protect our long-term right to homeschool. The Tebow bill, I know I was still working for the homeschool curriculum at the time and for that company, and I was working homeschool conventions at the time here in Texas. And I heard from dozens and dozens and dozens of Texas homeschoolers that they were not happy about what THSC had done with the Tebow bill. Some homeschoolers in Texas who were not surprised when the Texas Homeschool Coalition started backing some of these poorly worded school choice bills. They have openly supported bills like SB2 and HB3. They've sent emails out to their list in support of them. They've openly endorsed and praised candidates who support this bill. They have a long track record here, easily documentable, of supporting this specific legislation. When questions came up in the past, what about this requirement of standardized testing? Their response was that homeschoolers always do really well on standardized testing, so this isn't a problem. Of course, we don't want to submit to standardized testing. That's why we're homeschooling. We reject the government's control of our child's education. If we wanted them to tell us what our kids should learn, at what pace, from what company, and then test to be sure they're learning, we'd have left them in public school, right? But we didn't. And we expect our state-based organization to do more than just support these really poorly worded school choice bills. But alas, that's where we are. That's what they've done. So here we sit with true grassroots homeschoolers having to fight tooth and nail to do the job that their state-based organization has taken $1 million a year from homeschoolers here in Texas to do and are not doing. So this is a double betrayal, right? It's one thing to not be strong enough to stop bad legislation. It's another to have paid another organization to be strong enough to stop bad legislation. And they don't just not stop it. It's one thing to stay out of the fight. They are actively endorsing this bad legislation. So that's where we are, and everyone knows this bill is moving through. It's obviously Abbott's, preferred legislative item this year. It's looking grim, right? It's passed the Senate. It's passed through the House committee. It needs to go through a full floor vote, but it's looking, there's already enough co-sponsors on HB3 that with, some minor tweaks, they could very likely get SB2 passed. So this is grassroots crisis time. So I was very surprised, or not surprised, yesterday to see this email from THSC that said, and I don't have some fancy setup, I just got a camera here in my house, so I'm going to have to look away to read this, so sorry about that. It says here, yesterday, this is an email sent by THSC to their list yesterday. Yesterday, our homeschool constitutional amendment, SJR 12, received a vote of 21-9 in favor of sending this to the Senate joint resolution to the House. Okay, all that mumbo jumbo just means they're trying to put a constitutional amendment into the Texas state constitution, which of course would require a popular vote this fall. Like, the population of Texas would have to vote on this. But this is THSC's big win, right? And they want to tell us. And here, listen very carefully. SJR 12, filed by Senator Paxton, places protections directly into the state constitution. Listen, this is prohibiting the state from regulating homeschools and private schools, ensuring that educational freedom is protected for generations to come. Wow. Fantastic. This is what we want, right? We want homeschooling protected from government regulations. And it says that's what it does. It places protections directly into the Texas state constitution that prohibit the state from regulating homeschools, ensuring that our educational freedom is protected for generations to come. Fantastic, right? Except let's go read SJR 12, the Senate Joint Resolution 12, okay? And I'm going to have that put up on the screen here for you. But let me just read you. The entirety of it is a couple of paragraphs. I'll try to make sure it gets on the screen long enough you can read the whole thing to make sure I'm not leaving out any pertinent parts. But essentially, I'll read the pertinent parts that matter to us. A joint resolution proposing a constitutional amendment establishing a parent's right to direct a child's education. Love it. Be it resolved by the legislature of the state of Texas, Section 1, Article 1, Texas Constitution is amended by adding the section to read as follows. Okay, blah, blah, blah. This resolution wants to amend the Constitution to say this. In this section, parent means a natural parent, step-parent, adopted parent, legal guardian, or other legal custodian of a child. B, a parent has the right to direct the education of a parent's child, including the right to make reasonable choices within the public school system. Heaven only knows what that means. You could drive a truck through the word reasonable, of course. But we don't really care about that because, this sounds like a parental choice amendment, which we're all about parental choice, but this is not yet doing anything for homeschoolers, right? Number 2, choose an alternative to public education, such as a private school, including a parochial school or homeschool. Well, that's nice. The state constitution recognizes our right to homeschool. We love that. We do already have the right to homeschool thanks to Leeper versus State of Texas, and we've had it for decades. So it's not really giving us anything we don't already have, although putting it in the Constitution is nice. Of course, now we have the battle of a popular vote on that in November, right? But, okay, so we're getting our legal right to homeschool recognized in a new part of the law, in the Constitution, instead of a Supreme Court case. Okay, let's go on. We have the right to choose an alternative. We have the right to access and view our public school teaching materials and textbooks. We have the right to attend meetings of the government body of a public school. Okay, none of this has to do with us. Access public school student records for the parent's child, including their health records. Okay, we know what that's about, right? What are our kids being called at school that doesn't match what we call them at home? Again, that doesn't really affect homeschoolers. Let's see. The rights described herein shouldn't be restricted just because the parent has a disability or the child has okay, great. The legislature by general law may provide for processes to ensure the rights described in this section are upheld. Okay, so we're going to make sure that someone can enforce this. Okay, and then section 2, we have to vote on it in the fall. That's it. So I'm going to go back to what THSC said. They said it places protections directly into the Texas Constitution, prohibiting the state from regulating homeschools and public school and private schools, ensuring educational freedom is protected for generations to come. So just to be clear, the entirety of SJR 12's discussion on homeschooling is legally recognizing our right to choose to homeschool. There is, I guess I have one question for THSC. Are those protections in the room with us? What are you talking about? There is nothing in that joint resolution that protects homeschooling for generations to come. There's nothing in there that prevents them from regulating homeschooling in the future. This is a complete disaster. That this is our win here from the Texas Homeschool Coalition. In my opinion, this is a CYA email. They're banking on families not clicking that link to the hot link to the SJR text, not reading it. If they do read it, not understand it. This little tiny piece of code that they want to add that they're calling a big victory for defending homeschooling does absolutely nothing except say parents can choose to homeschool if they want. It does not say the state cannot mandate our curriculum, or that the state may not enforce mandatory testing on us, or the state may not put curriculum restrictions and requirements on us, beyond what they already are. It does not say that we have to submit medical. They'll never be able to ask for medical records from us, which, is happening in Illinois right now. Like, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing that is protecting homeschooling at all, other than recognizing that, you have a right to do it, which of course we already have. So what's going on here? I mean, I can't speak to their intentions or motivations. I will say they want to look like they're defending homeschooling and care about the future right of homeschooling here in Texas. They want to look like they care about educational freedom, but they've just sold out homeschoolers lock, stock, and barrel over the last few years, and they know it. So they're banking on homeschoolers. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but to me, it looks like they're banking on homeschoolers not reading the text, not comparing their claim of what that joint resolution would do to what it actually says. And then they're just going to look like they're worried about educational freedom too. The same organization that provided political cover to legislators that we represent homeschoolers when we vote for this bill, because THSC has endorsed this bill. And then we've seen the Texas Public Policy Institute talk about this bill in light of, don't worry, homeschoolers, the THSC has given it a thumbs up, a green light. This is a huge problem, okay? This is a big problem. So where do we go from here? A couple of things. Obviously we're a national organization and we exist to help defend homeschooling, actually defend homeschooling in legislatures all over the country. I don't care if you don't join our organization. I mean, obviously we exist to help defend these rights. This is what we do. We don't do lawsuits. We just do legislation. So that would be a key difference between us and some other organizations. But I don't care if you don't give us your money and join our organization. I would just rather you burnt it in a pile in the yard than give any more money to THSC, because this is either they know exactly what they're doing and they're doing it on purpose, trying to obscure and deceive what's actually happening here and this absolute garbage amendment that is absolutely nothing for homeschooling, or they honest to goodness don't know what's going on and they don't realize that this thing does nothing for homeschooling and it's not a protection and it is going to do absolutely nothing to protect homeschoolers here in Texas. So you have the choice of basically what looks to be deceptive homeschool posturing. They're pretending it's a good thing when it's not, or incompetence. And those are not things that we can really afford to have in this fight. We need an organization that actually will fight tooth and nail for homeschooling here in Texas. In my opinion, the email yesterday was absolutely the nail in the coffin that THSC is not that organization and should not be that organization going forward. Do with this information what you will. If you want more of this content, sign up for our email alerts. Share this video if you found it helpful. If you've got follow-up questions, drop them in the comments. I know this is not stuff people like to hear. Okay, I know that. I've been in homeschooling my entire life. My family is one of the families that went to court in our state to make it legal to homeschool. I know all the royalty families of homeschooling. I know it's hard to hear that people we've held up as leaders and as courageous men could be so lost in the weeds on this topic. But we have to face what's happening. It's either intentional or it's obliviousness, but neither one is a position we can afford to have. And so take action. Immediately hit the link below to send an email directly to your legislator saying, THSC does not speak for me. THSC does not speak for our organization. We want this bill dead. We're not going to be happy if this bill is passed. Homeschoolers are not going to thank you at election time. Clearly, the high dollar fancy dinner crowd made their deals behind closed doors that we had nothing to do with. But I believe that's all we can do now is directly grassroots homeschoolers, contact their legislators. Use the link below. It takes less than a minute. We've pre-written a whole bunch of emails. You can edit them, but it takes less than a minute. It goes directly to your legislator. Please send an email right now. That's all I have time for today. Folks, give us a like, share, comment, sign up for our email alerts. If you want more of this content, say that in the comments below. We're in this fight. We're not going anywhere, and we're in this for the long haul. So please follow our page to stay up to date on the latest on the fight here over SB2 here in Austin.